y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and on this episode we're going to review NXT TakeOver War Games 2 or War Games 2018. I've seen it both ways. I'm going to go with 2018. I like it better. It sounds better to me. We're going to start off. First off, we get an unannounced match that started on the pre-show with a incident between Matt Riddle and Kassius Ohno at the desk where they basically challenged each other. We see Riddle come out. He challenges Kassius Ohno to a match. Kassius comes down, accepts it, and Riddle hits one knee and the match is over. And Riddle picks up the win. When they set this up and when they were in the ring, I thought we were going to get an extra match, an extra thing, not just this. To me, this was just a little filler thing. I really wish they could have at least gave us like a 7-minute match out of the two. I don't know why they actually didn't, but I just wish it was something. I wish it was an actual match. I'd love to see Kassius Ohno versus Chris Riddle. I think it would be a really good match, especially if given time. I'm going to give this a 2. Their mic work was really good, which is why it's not a 1. I rate everything on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. I give it a 2. I just wish there was more. And maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's supposed to leave us wanting more. Maybe we'll have Ohno come out on the next NXT taping and talk about how he got screwed. So, that being said, we go into our Women's Championship match. The first of 4 actually announced matches. We have Shayna Baszler versus Kairi Sane in a 2 out of 3 falls women's match. They've traded back and forth and basically are even at this point, so supposedly this is a feud ender. I was extremely excited for this match because their previous matches were really good. However, we see early on Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir come out and interfere in the match, which in their last match, if you watch my last review, I actually was okay with that because it helps build Shayna as a heel. However, they leaned on that too much in this one. The first fall goes to Shayna Baszler, putting Kairi in a little bit of a hole. Kairi picks up the second fall, making it even, which leads us to the third and deciding fall, and the other 2 horsewomen, Jessamine and Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir, wow, I said one's first name and the other's last name, get involved, which brings out Dakota Kai, and she tries to help, and then Io Shirai comes out, and I'm probably mispronouncing her last name. Again, it's different. But they kind of even the odds, which makes you think that Kairi might pick up the win. Unfortunately, she does not. Shayna pulls it out. Shayna retains. I'm going to give this match a 3. Again, it felt a little bit rushed. It felt like they were cutting time, which I don't know why on the second match they would be cutting time. I know that the War Games match is going to take up a decent chunk of time, but they're on their own network. They could go as long or as short as they wanted to, so I don't know. And this isn't something that's on traditional pay-per-view, so it makes no sense that they have time constraints. Maybe building had time constraints, who knows? But to me, again, it felt a little rushed. It felt like too much interference from what's supposed to be a feud ender, so I'm going to give it a 3. Next up, we have Aleister Black versus Johnny Gargano. I think this match started off slow and then built and built, kind of like a train going down the tracks. It started off slow, and then by the time it got really going, it was just barreling down. And these guys went out, and this was really just an awesome match between the two. I liked the way they built it. I liked the way it went, where it started, the middle. The whole match told a story, and we seen Gargano be a little bit more on the heel side in this match. We seen Aleister Black actually kind of taken aback and almost to the point where in the beginning of the match it kind of looked like it might be a squash match for Gargano, but it ended up working out in the wash. They put on a really good match. Once the story really picked up, it did feel like that. It felt like it was just a rocket ship kept going up. Aleister Black picks up the win. I'm going to give this match a 5. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very exciting and fun match. Next up, we have Tommaso Ciampa versus Velveteen Dream for the NXT Championship. First off, Velveteen Dream comes out dressed like Hulk Hogan, Hollywood Hulk Hogan. So, that was pretty cool little nod to Hogan being that they're in LA, being in Hollywood. He's done it before with some other wrestlers, so I thought that was cool. I like that he adds that little piece in there. The thing about Velveteen, and I was the whole night I was texting back and forth with a friend of mine, Neil, and one of the things I said is sometimes he relies too much on the gimmick and not enough on his wrestling skill, and I fear that he's going to end up being another Johnny B. Bad or Mark Mero, where he's a great wrestler, but the gimmick overtook the wrestler. So he became more of a gimmick than he ever was a wrestler, if you understand what I mean by that. Like, he needs to find a nice balance, like Goldust had. Goldust found a way to have a nice balance with a crazy gimmick, but kept his character and his wrestling and his in-ring together with it. This match I really enjoyed. I thought they worked together well. Tommaso Ciampa is spot on. He's probably one of the 5 or 6 best wrestlers in the world right now. Everything he's doing is hitting. Everything he does is crisp. Everything about his character fits what his character should be doing. I like this match again. Ciampa picks up the win after a very hard-fought match. And we see him hugging the belt kind of like how Gollum would look at the ring on Lord of the Rings. And I know I went super nerdy there for a second. But he looked at it like that. He looked at it like a starving person would look at a steak. He looked at it like someone that's been away in the army coming back to their wife looks at their wife. He looked at that belt in that way, and I thought I think that's so cool. He's so into this character and dialed into what this character is, and to me, that really makes the character extra special. And again, Ciampa picked up the win. I'm going to give this match a 5. Again, a really, really enjoyable match. Now, last but not least, we get the War Games match. The Undisputed Era, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, and Bobby Fish versus Pete Dunne, Ricochet, and Hanson and Rowe, the War Raiders. Before I get into the match, 2 things I want to bring up. First off, I know it leaves for some room and leaves for some innovative stuff, but I kind of like the fact that there was restrictions. I want to see the roof back on the War Games. It hasn't come too much into play where they don't have one, but to me, that's part of what made it special, that it was totally enclosed, and you didn't have that extra room on top. You would see guys like Sid Vicious, famously, I believe it was Flying Brian, went for a powerbomb and hit Pillman's head off of the top of the cage. And to me, that adds to the chess match. It adds to what you're doing in there. And I understand with guys like Ricochet and some of the athletes they have in there, you want to give them that extra space that they can fly off of the top, which Ricochet does during the match. But it'd be like Hell in a Cell not having a roof. It just seems weird to me. Second thing, and I want to correct the WWE error. They said that the official War Games doesn't begin until everybody's in the match. That is not correct. The War Games is the match all the way up until everybody comes in. Once everybody comes into the match, then it becomes the match beyond. I know. I'm going wrestler nerd crazy. And it's nitpicky, and I know. But if you're going to bring something so iconic, especially to people of my generation, get it right. Make sure you're saying everything right. Do the respect to Dusty Rhodes, who created it, and talk about it properly. All that being said, let's go into the match. They start off with Adam Cole and Ricochet, and again, here's another thing I'd like to point out. Like I said to my friend Neil, don't they understand you don't start the match with Ric Flair? Ric Flair is the closer. Meaning Adam Cole or Ricochet shouldn't have started for the match. If I was booking it, I would have had like O'Reilly and Dunne, or O'Reilly and Rowe, or Strong and Rowe, or something of that nature, and built to the two guys that have fought for the North America title recently, Ricochet and Cole, being the last two entries. Now, I know why both these guys were in there. They're both extremely talented, and they're both able to go long periods of time. Undisputed Era has the advantage, which means that they're going to have the odd number, so every time and they did this part right. The first period was 5 minutes, every other period was 3. Traditionally, it's all 5, but I'll give them a pass on this for time constraints. The heel team, Undisputed Era, has the advantage, which is the way the War Games should be. It's the way, if you book it right, it makes the most sense. So Cole and Ricochet start out. Ricochet seems to be getting the upper hand. Boom, the 5 minutes are up. Kyle O'Reilly jumps in. Kyle O'Reilly and helps Cole. They start taking advantage of Ricochet. 3 minutes comes up. Hanson comes in. Hanson evens out. The fight starts going back into their side. Boom, 3 minutes are up. Roderick Strong comes in. He helps get the numbers game on their side, so they take back control. And I really like the back and forth and how they built this. Roderick Strong helps them get advantage, and then Ray Rowe comes in. We see a little bit of potential dissent with Ray Rowe and Pete Dunne fighting over who's going to come into the match. It's just Rowe now, I know. WWE, and they're taking away people's first names. But Rowe comes in. Rowe again evens out the odds. Then Bobby Fish, the last person for the Undisputed Era, is set to come in. However, he takes his lock and goes and locks it on the cage that Pete Dunne's in. He locks the 2 locks on there. So he comes down, he gets a bunch of chairs that have Undisputed Era symbols painted on them, so they could beat up the 3 guys, and then when the time's up, Pete Dunne can't get out, which we see the time comes up. They unlock the original lock, they try to unlock it, the second lock with the same key, which Bobby Fish threw into the crowd, I forgot to mention. But they couldn't get it unlocked, so we see that little bit of struggle. We see Pete Dunne trying to break out, and for a few minutes, the heels take the advantage. While they're trying to figure this out, eventually a bunch of refs run out, they cut the bolt, cut the lock off, and Pete Dunne comes in. And first they try to fend him off. Pete Dunne starts attacking with a kendo stick. We get kendo sticks and tables involved in this. And this is where it really picks up. They got all 4 competitors on both sides are in the ring, and they just go at it, and they're killing each other, and they're beating each other with chairs. People are going through tables. Kendo sticks are being hit. Ricochet does a double moonsault off of the top. You see the Tower of Doom kind of thing, which, can we get rid of that spot, please? The first few times it was cool, and it's a spot where usually it's on the corner where a guy goes up for a superplex and another guy joins him, and then another guy, and then someone power bombs all of them. It was cool the first few times. We're getting to the point where it's getting too goofy for realism, if you know what I mean. I want to keep it a little bit in the realm of reality, No one's going to set that up. No one's going to do... That's not realistic at all. That being said, back into the match. So there was some cool spots. We get to the point where they all pretty much come to a stalemate, 4-on-4 in each ring. They meet in the middle in the partition and just hockey fight it for a little bit. We see the Undisputed Era take a little bit of an advantage. We see the other four guys, we'll call them Team Ricochet for a better name. Team Ricochet comes back, get back and forth for a little while, and actually, this part I really enjoyed on this, because usually in a traditional War Games match, the end part's short, it's 5-7 minutes, but they seem to go on for a good decent amount of time with this, and gave them the time to do all this crazy stuff. Eventually, we get it all fleshed out. The Team Pete Dunne, Ricochet, and the War Raiders pick up the win. I thought this was fantastic. I thought it was a great War Games match. It blew me away. It is as good, if not better, than anything from the original NWA/WCW era. I thought this match was amazing. I'm going to give it a 5. 5 out of 5. I thought it was that good. That being said, let's rate the entire show. Now, as you've seen, I gave 3 things a 5. And I want to mention this because someone brought this up on one of my videos. They talked about how Dave Meltzer doesn't give out 5s a lot. My rating system's not like Meltzer's, and that's what a lot of people don't take into account. He rates things his way, I rate things my way. It's basically, my rating system is like grades in school, where you get an A, B, C, D, or F, right? So you have 5 ratings. An A would be a 5, basically. I think 5 is a good number. It's, universally people either rate everything on a 5 or 10 scale. Now, I will rate multiple matches on a show a 5 because I think they're that enjoyable. And if it's something that I think is above, I have broken my scale and gone and gave him 6 star or 6, gave him a 6 rating. I'm not Meltzer, so I'm not doing this as to be super critical. This is my enjoyment level. I think these are A matches. I think I rate it like this. How would if someone were to ask me, what matches should I watch on NXT TakeOver? I would say, go with the War Games match, go with Black versus Gargano, go with Ciampa versus Velveteen Dream. You could probably skip the other 2. And that's what I would say. So that's kind of what I use my scale, just to give you an idea. That being said, I give the whole show overall a 5. Once again, this is going to be impossible for the main roster to top. They kept this tight under 3 hours, 5 matches. 3 of the 5 matches I thought were excellent. 2 I think could have been better, but it's going to be a better ratio than what we see tomorrow night on Survivor Series. So I'm okay with that. I thought it was a really good show, really fun show. I think the whole roster always steps it up when we get to these takeover specials, and it's so awesome to see that when everybody's giving their A+ effort. But with all that being said, my name is George Coles, and this has been my review of NXT TakeOver War Games 2018.